Team USA dominated. Yet, on today's show, we're going to talk about Kamala Harris's record as DA of San Francisco. Was it clean? Are there divisive topics there? And Donald Trump, his military history. Mark Haynes and I, we're talking politics. No, I'm just kidding. We're not obviously delving into that. We're talking hoops. Team USA dominated. Let's get into it with Mark Haynes. Bill, I can't let you go. Bring us in. It's the golden days. Here we go.
That is it for us today, and we will leave you with I can't do it. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. And things suck. Woo! Let's go.
In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Come on and break me off. Cause I get what I want and I like what I see.
Getting old for this shit. You can follow Mark Haynes on all social media platforms at Mark Haynes NBA. He's been covering this fine sport for a damn long time. He reports for the Sacramento Observer. He has his own program called 3 in the Paint. But again, follow him, Mark Haynes, on all social media platforms at Mark Haynes NBA. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Threads and Instagram at Dog Wild. I'm over on that cesspool of an excuse for a social media platform, Twitter at Surf Journalist. Mark, great to see you, man. You and I every time I just see your name or I think about you, I always go back to that podcast we did 3-4 years ago. You and I were invited to go on some Lakers show. I don't even know if that thing still exists, but right. that was our first introduction, and I just knew right away you were a cool dude and you know your stuff. You can follow Mark Haynes one more time on all social media platforms at Mark Haynes NBA. Mark, how the hell are you doing, man? Good to see you, brother.
Man, good to see you, man. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here, but I'm doing well, man. Just taking care of the family and enjoying this nice. You got a little cooler out there in the Bay, but this nice hot summer that we have out here in Sacramento, I believe it's supposed to be 103 today. So yeah, I'm trying to stay cool out here, but everything is good, man. I'm blessed.
Dude, you're in the Sac area, and that's pool living, dude. Do you have a swimming pool, man? Because I don't know how you can do it without that.
Yeah, my complex. I got a complex out here that I stay at. We have a nice pool, and I'm thinking about taking a dip in there.
Dude,
it's between leaving the AC and going out in the water. I'll be doing one of the two.
Yeah, I don't know how you can do the pool thing without it. And again, it's hot. Again, the whole world is burning up right now, man. Here in Northern California, though, yeah, you're right. Sacramento, it's this summer. You folks in Sac, dude, have been like dipping your toes into Vegas territory. It's Phoenix territory, dude. It's getting hot over there, man. I mean, I'm over here, where I'm at. I'm in this town called Guerneville, again, in Sonoma County. Even though I'm kind of close to the coast, dude, it gets hot here too, man. If it's 103 in Sac, it's probably 95 here. It's not that much cooler, but it's a little bit, but no one wants to pay attention to us talking about the weather, man. We're here to talk about hoops. And again, Mark is in Sac. And real fast before we get into it, Curtis Aldrete, the only reason why Bill O'Reilly is still in my open is because I'm just lagging on replacing him. Please do not ever think of Bill O'Reilly as having any association with this program in terms of views, in terms of anything. That bit is just comedy because 20 years ago, there's actually a recording of him when he was hosting, I think, Inside Edition. It was this whole program. It might still be around on TV. And he just lost his cool. And the way he lost his cool, I just always got a kick out of that. Anyways, we're here to talk hoops. And real fast before we get into basketball talk, I got to give some love to our sponsor. And even before I do that real fast, because Steve White in the chat is asking to come on the show. And I'm cool with that. Let me just, so I'm going to share the chat link I'm going to share the link in the chat. If anyone wants to join us, they can do that. If you have a question for Mark, if you want to talk Warriors, Mark's on the Sacramento Kings beat. We're obviously talking Team USA. Haven't even mentioned the fact that they dominated Puerto Rico 104-83, the final there. But we're going to get into that and so much more after we give some love to Bet Online, the official sponsor of Golden Days. It's the world's most trusted betting platform. And BetOnline is your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, you can receive a 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from the Olympics to baseball to Formula One racing. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. I'm going to hit the pause button there and ask you, Mark. I've been doing this lately because it's a good window into an individual's personality and their sports interest in terms of gambling, man. I always feel like if you're a sports gambler, you have very unique insight that I feel like a lot of people don't have in sports, man. The moment you put money on a game and you have that level of investment, you're paying attention to every minute detail imaginable. If you want to be truly an expert on sports, gamble, because you're going to start learning every little thing imaginable. And if you get good at it, you can make some money as well. Mark, are you a gambler? Or do you do it maybe casually? Do you stay away entirely? What is your ethos when it comes to sports gambling?
Well, when it comes to sports gambling, I stay away simply because, not because I don't like it. I always get so close to winning, and I lose my mind when I lose, because like you said, you pay attention to every little thing, the players that you normally wouldn't even think about watching or whatever. You like, I just need 2 rebounds here, I need 1 more yard here or whatever, whatnot, and it's like so. It's a very addicting habit to get into, and I'm just not lucky. When I went to Vegas for Summer League, I sat down at the blackjack table and put $60 in down on the table, and I lost it in like 3 minutes. So that's just me. I'm just Mr. Bad.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I mean, it's real stakes, dude. I don't. It's not. If you lose, I mean, the penalties are harsh. And again, that's why, like, if you do it on sports, I mean, dude, you're all in. I mean, you're focused on every goddamn play imaginable.
Yeah.
It's a great. I mean, look, I don't know why I got into it. I got into it back when I was in high school, and then when I was in college, we had a bookie, and then I remember one of my old fraternity brothers, Yago, that was his nickname, like the parrot, because he sounded like him from Aladdin. And I remember him saying that, like, giving me a piece of advice, which I still, to me, rings true to this day, man. If you really want to truly learn everything there is to know about sports, gamble on it. You'll be informed very fast. And as Mark said, there are other things besides sports gambling. Like, he was just in Vegas. I want to talk about Summer League as well. So if besides sports gambling, or let's say the game's over, you can head on over to BetOnline's online casino. Get in on a game of blackjack or poker. You can unwind with one of over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online. The game starts here. Mark, it was, look, man, some days I feel my age. This morning was one of them. It's right now, we're live. It's 10:56 a.m. Pacific time. Mark, you have kids. So maybe mornings are a lot easier for you. But Team USA and Puerto Rico started this game this morning early. I think it was like 8:45 our time when the game tipped off, and they dominated from beginning to end. This was just Team USA cruising. I mean, Anthony Edwards, I felt like shined when it comes to at least scoring. The dude was dominating, led all scorers with 26 points. But Stephen Curry led all players, or tied with LeBron James with net rating. In terms of net rating leaders, they both were a plus 18. What was your takeaway, Mark, from Team USA, now 3-0 in Olympics play?
They looked amazing. They looked dominant, like you said. And then, like, when you have Steph and LeBron on the court together or whatever, it's kind of, even though they didn't dominate the box scores per se or whatever, but when they're in the game, it's going to be hard it's going to be hard to beat those dudes or whatever. Because the crazy thing about it is, like, they were plus 18 on the court today. What happens to a team when both of those guys really get it going offensively, or so it's like it's dangerous times right now. And like you said, Anthony Edwards, amazing. The team looked like, especially in the second half, they were just on cruise control, and they were completely in control of the game. I think the first quarter, I think somehow that, Puerto Rico couldn't miss a shot. So they had a 2 or 3 point lead. But other than that, it was all Team USA.
Anthony Edwards, it stuck out to me, dude. He was playing lights out. He was shooting the ball at a clip that was damn impressive, man. And just to be more specific, Anthony Edwards in today's game, 11 of 15 from the field, 50% shooting from three. He was 3 of 6. What are your thoughts on this kid, dude? Like, I really think people made these potentially insane comparisons, saying that he's comparable to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan himself reportedly said that he sees himself in this kid. The only other player he's ever said that about, at least from my recollection, is Kobe Bryant. I think this kid is special. I think he's going to be the next big thing. What are your thoughts on Anthony Edwards, man? Is it overhyped a little bit? What are your thoughts?
I love Ant, man. I wouldn't say it's overhyped. When I look at him, though, I see more of a better shooting Dwayne Wade, which is not like that's a slouch at all or whatever. He's one of the great play the game, but he reminds me a lot of just kind of how he moves and things like that, and how he operates. But last year when he played for Team USA or whatever, obviously it wasn't the Olympics, but just the FIBA games. I think he uses this time. I think he takes this time seriously. I think he's, you see videos of him and Kevin Durant talking about, his jump shot, and you see it later on. You see a picture of him dunking on Kevin Durant, and I think this is a time of year that Ant is really taking advantage of to get better. And I think we seen him after last year. We seen him take a jump during the season, and I think we're going to see the same thing going into this next season. I think this guy he's the real deal. He's a future going to be one of the future faces of the league. He got a great personality. He's hilarious. He's everything you want in a superstar. And Minnesota, they got to figure out how do we keep him here forever? Because he's going to be an amazing player. He's already an amazing player, but he's going to be even better.
Absolutely, 100% with you. I think he's going to be one of the all-time greats when all's said and done. I know that's a bold statement, and who knows what actually will happen. But I mean, just a sign of how great he is. The owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves, Glenn Taylor, who on a side note, as a human being, is just rotten, but one of the worst owners in the NBA. But he was selling the team to Alex Rodriguez and his partner. I forgot the guy's name, and now he doesn't want to do it. He's trying to pull out. I don't know how that's going to be resolved. I mean, A-Rod and his partner are suing, claiming that, Glenn Taylor pulled out of the deal. But a huge reason for that is because he realized, why am I selling a team that has Anthony Edwards not even in his prime yet? And this team's about to finally be good for the first time in my entire tenure as the owner. I don't want to sell anymore, man. And that's a funny, I always get a kick out of crazy legal dramas like that, especially when it involves multiple billionaires or just super rich people going at it, duking it out in court and whatnot. But nonetheless, Anthony Edwards, phenomenal player. In the chat, Zero mentioning that Anthony Davis played like a monster. What was your thoughts on Anthony Davis' performance today?
Beast. He's playing big. What I'm really liking about this team and watching how they carry themselves on the court. If you notice, you're not seeing any flopping anymore. There's none of that. So you have all these guys who says, LeBron wouldn't be able to play in the 90s. Steph wouldn't be able. Anthony Davis is soft. It's just the rules of the game. You do whatever you got to do to win. And they know that's not going to cut it right now. They have to go out there. They have to be physical. They have to, the flopping is gone. And Anthony Davis, he's out there looking like a man, which he's a man, but he's just a beast out there. And he's dominated in his role. And that's why I think multiple guys on this team, they're just dominating in their role, which is, dope to see.
It is, dude. It's just dope watching this team, man. I don't know, Mark. I don't know if you're old enough to remember the original Dream Team back in '92. Outside of to me, the '96 team is grossly underrated, right? I mean, everyone talks about '92. They forget that '96 was immensely powerful, man. Stacked. I never thought another team would rival those two. And then here comes this squad, dude. I do think it's comparable, man. I'm not saying that this year's version is better than 92, but I'm asking everybody who's coming on with me for these post-game shows, or anyone who's talking Olympics with me, I'm curious to know what their thoughts are, yours included, in terms of the comp, man. Like in your eyes, where does the 2024 Team USA roster stack up against the 92 Dream Team?
So I'm not a prisoner of the moment per se, but I am. I'm a firm believer in, especially when it comes to sports and just the evolution of the game. And I think every year, I think basketball players, as we're seeing, we look at South Sudan and Puerto Rico and all these different teams, of how, like, we talk about how the 92 team was blowing teams out by 40 and 60 points, crazy numbers or whatever. That's not happening now because people are just better basketball players, not because the NBA players or Team USA, they're not as good as 92 and so on. But I just think basketball in a global, it's a global sport, and it's getting better. And I think this Team USA team, I do think this is the best team to suit up in a USA jersey. And like I said, I mean that in the sense of they got to go win the gold, obviously, because if they don't win gold, what they or feel doesn't mean crap. But if they go and take care of business, which I think they will, I think they can go down as the best. And simply because you look at the skill level, they didn't have a guy. You have Michael Jordan, obviously. So let me back things up. You have Michael Jordan. You have Barkley, who was like this version of Anthony Edwards, meaning leading the team in scoring. And obviously, they're different positions.
But they're almost the same. I'm glad sorry to interrupt you, but that's an interesting comp, man. Because if you're too young to have grown up watching Barkley, he was a beast. To me, he's underrated. I think he'll always be underrated because he never won a championship. But that one MVP season, for example, man, he was on fire. And he is, even though they play different positions, him and Ant Edwards are almost the exact same size, man. And I think there is an interesting comp there. People talk Jordan. I already forgot who you mentioned earlier. Dwayne Wade. And I've heard other people say that too. But Charles Barkley, that's an interesting one, man, because they're almost the exact same height. Barkley was supposedly 6'5", 6'6" himself. That's fascinating, is all I'm trying to say. So go on, man. I started to interrupt you.
Yeah, but that the 92 team, they didn't have a LeBron and Steph Curry, and a guy that could shoot nearly as good as Steph. But just in terms of like how this team is built, the size, the athleticism, the skill, I think this is going to be the best USA team we've seen, even though that 92 team was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and again, like the arguments, I'm still going to give like a slight edge to the 92 team, but I can't sit here and like make a strong argument for it. And this is all just fun and games, having a discussion. But I can't sit here and tell you like you're wrong. This team is so deep, and the difference to me between 92 and this version, and same with 96, is the competition is night and day different, man. In 92, 96. The international game was like Tony Kukoc was the best international player, right? I can't even think of. I mean, this was even before Manu Ginobili. So, I mean, there wasn't a lot out there, man, in terms of healthy competition to challenge those teams. Whereas this version, like Team Canada is super stacked. I don't think they're big enough, but they've got a deep ass team. I'm curious to see Team USA play France and that twin tower front court of Wemby and Rudy Gobert. I think that's fascinating. Serbia's got Jokic, and a few other NBA players. That's a solid team, even though Team USA hasn't had issues taking care of them. But the point is, the competition is night and day. So I do think that's a clear edge to this version of Team USA. But this team is stacked, man. I think my point in all this is enjoy watching this, because this could be a potential once in a lifetime experience for all of us. Any other takeaways or any comments from your perspective in terms of Team USA, who is now 3-0 and again dominated today, 104-83. Any thoughts on Stephen Curry's play as well? This is his first Olympics. Any takeaways from that, man? Is anything sticking out to you? I feel like the one play that stuck out is his vintage. Like, I'm going to throw a shot up, and halfway through the shot while the ball's in the air, I'm just going to turn around and walk back because I know this thing's going in, which is in and of itself like one of the most fascinating parlor tricks in basketball history. The fact that Stephen Curry can predict a shot going in well before it even goes through the cylinder. But your thoughts on Stephen Curry and any final thoughts on Team USA?
Well, Steph, man, he's been amazing. Just like you said today, leading tie with LeBron for plus minus. And I'm just really enjoying, like you said, watching this group together, seeing him and LeBron's interaction and him and KD and just guys you never we don't ever get to see this or whatever. And then you still see Steph and other guys bringing the same showmanship that they give to their regular home teams. And I'm so happy to just be a part of just witnessing what's going on or whatever, and seeing Steph and seeing the way he plays. And I also think this is going to be good I think it's good for all the players. And I think they're learning so much from each other that it's going to make even the season more competitive. You see the video of Steph shooting in practice. Steph is doing, you can tell he's enjoying it and having fun, which maybe one season early on, it looked like Steph wasn't enjoying the game, but this looks like you love to see happy Steph. You want to see him doing the trick shots, doing warm-ups and stuff, and he make you question if it's even real or not or whatever. And this team wouldn't be the same without him. And another person that I want to shout out is Kevin. Kevin Durant has been incredible. He's coming off the bench. He's missed a ton, the first the exhibition games and stuff like that, and you can't even tell.
Nope.
He missed the first 3-pointer today or whatever. And the guy is a offensive machine when it comes to scoring. And again, he makes this team, to me, he's a big part of what makes this team unbeatable.
100%. I apologize. I was in the middle of a drink of water right when you finished up there. No, you're absolutely right, dude. And I'm bouncing a little.
Water.
But you brought up an interesting point. Which is, and I'm glad you said what you just said, because it'll lead to this question. One of the fascinating things about international play to me, more specifically with the Team USA rosters every year, is you always see tremendous growth from certain individuals. Not everyone, right? I mean, Brandon Ingram, the last year, I don't know if international play helped him, but Anthony Edwards, you saw tremendous growth. Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, they said after playing in international play, their game took a leap. I feel like even Kevin Durant, you saw a leap after his first Olympic play. A lot of these individuals, when they play internationally, with Team USA, with these stacked rosters, and I don't think it has to do with the opposition or the FIBA rules. I think it has to do with being surrounded by greatness and learning from these other truly great players, and picking up habits, gaining new perspectives. Is there anyone on this year's roster that you think could benefit from Team USA and could maybe take a lead? Because we've seen this before with a lot of players. Is there anyone that sticks out to you this year, or do you think this team is just so mature that there isn't much more growth that we can see from any of these guys?
Well, I actually, as you were saying, I was thinking, I was like, who? And I actually have a scary answer, and maybe I hope I'm wrong.
Make me poo my pants.
If I'm true, if this is the truth, then it's gonna be scary next season. But I think Jason Tatum. I think great as Jason Tatum already.
Ooh, I like it.
He's never been around, the leadership of other superstars. He came in as a rookie, And Jaylen Brown was like, it's him and Jaylen Brown from the start. And they had success. You know, they made it to the conference finals and stuff. But for him to be able to take a whole summer, you know, playing with LeBron James, Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, and all these other great players, I think this can take his game to the next level.
That's a dude that is scary if that actually happens. Jason Tatum did play in 2021 and won gold. But that was a different team. That was like night and day. Like this, this was a totally different team. And I agree with you, man. He actually said something interesting after he was benched in that first game where he said that experience gave him the perspective of a bench player and that he has a whole newfound respect for players coming off the bench. But even little things like that, dude, when you're a player of Jason Tatum's level, to gain any positives, to experience any growth when you're a Jason Tatum, you're absolutely right, dude. And I love that guy. And in the chat, Greg Gordon brings up Bam Adebayo, and that could be true too. Last game, he was the best player on this roster, led all scorers with 18 points. He could be another one that shows growth. That's a good call there. But the Jason Tatum thing is potentially frightening in terms of where he could be next year. I mean, he's the reigning champion. And he might have that extra motivation of pursuing a Finals MVP. Right? We saw how that drove Stephen Curry there a little bit. And the Jason Tatum talk leads to a question I'm going to ask you in terms of your personal thoughts and feelings about a player that you did previously cover. You used to cover the Golden State Warriors. Now you cover the Sacramento Kings, currently for the Sacramento Observer, among many publications. I know you do a lot of work out there. You're also host of a podcast called Three in the Paint. But the player I want to talk about is Jonathan Kuminga, who I think the Warriors are going to be counting on a lot this season. And rightfully so. I mean, this is a kid who is the number 7 pick in one of the deepest drafts in NBA history. Some mocks had him going number 1 in that draft for very good reason. He's entering year 4. He's likely not going to get a contract extension. The Warriors, I think, want to see him, use that pursuit of a big extension as an extra motivation, as an incentive to even work harder, even though I think he's busting his ass. I don't think anyone's ever questioned his work ethic to begin with. But Mark, what are your thoughts on Jonathan Kuminga, man? What are you expecting? Do you think he's going to live up to the hype? Do you think the hype is overstated? What are your thoughts on the young kid?
When I seen him as a rookie, I thought he could be a great player in the NBA. So I'm not jumping off the bandwagon, and I'm going to say this 4th year is going to be his best year. Which the one thing I really like about him, other than how freakishly athletic he is and his size and all the things we've seen him do already, is every summer you see him in the gym. When you don't see a bunch of clips or Instagram posts of him vacationing, he's always in a gym. He's always in, he's young, and you could tell he's really taking seriously and taking care of his body. And he has all the physical attributes to step up and be what the Warriors need him to be, especially if they're going to be giving him a max, extension or anything like that. And I think he's going to ultimately get that, because he's also a guy that takes defense seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So he could turn into a really good two-way player this season, and I think that could set the tone for his career. And again, just like we talked about Team USA and players being around greatness, he's had the privilege of being around greatness his entire career. And he has, conversations with Steph, Clay, Draymond, regularly. This is, I think he understands it, and I think the organization is going to see that he understands that this is his time. Obviously, this is Steph Curry's team and Draymond, but this is his time to step up, especially with the departure of Klay Thompson. I think he understands that this is going to be his year, and I expect to see a great version, the best version we've seen so far of Jonathan Kuminga.
I'm expecting great things as well. And I know you cover the Kings. I want to talk about your team in a moment because they are a rival of the Warriors. They knocked the Warriors out in the play-in game last year, and as of right now, I think they're the better team. I don't think it's even up for debate. But this is a Warriors show. You covered the Warriors for a long time. I love I love all of your insights. I think you do know what the hell you're talking about, which I can't say personally for most people in this industry, but you do, Mark, and I respect that tremendously. The Warriors right now, the way they're currently constructed, incredibly guard heavy, incredibly wing heavy. They don't have a lot of size at the moment. Like they're probably going to be expecting Kyle Anderson to play a lot of minutes at the 4 this year. Look, the NBA's gotten bigger in the last 2 years, certainly since the Warriors won the title. And side note, by the way, you and I were covering the team that title season. That was an awesome year, dude. I can't. That was magical. But again, that was 2 years ago. This is now. What are your thoughts on the Warriors, dude? Do you think another trade is coming, if for no other reason, just because this roster doesn't make sense? What are your thoughts on the way this team is currently constructed? And do you think they need to make at least one more move, or do you think they'll surprise people the way they are? What are your thoughts?
I think there's a potential to surprise people the way they are, but I think the really good thing about the position the Warriors are in is that they have all those trade assets. They do see, obviously Lauri Markkanen has been a name mentioned with the Warriors like a lot this offseason, whatever. If the Warriors really wanted to go get him, they could. And that's a good position to be in. And I think it's probably going to be, there's probably multiple players like that where it's like, the young talent that the Warriors have, they're young talent. They're not young prospects where we're trying to figure out what they're going to be. These guys can actually play basketball, and they know how to play winning basketball. And I wouldn't be surprised if a trade was made, but at the same time, it's like, you could see what happens first, because at any point, teams are gonna, if you throw out I don't like to name names, but if you throw out the young talented names out there, and other teams know that they're available, teams will be willing to give up a good chunk of what they have to get them, because the Warriors, I think the future looks good, even though Steph is older, Draymond's older. I think the future in Golden State is going to be in good hands.
Sorry, I had the mute button there. I agree with you. I do think that the Warriors have some young pieces in play that could lead to a bright future, regardless of what's happening now. And I still think this Lauri Markkanen trade could very easily happen. I don't know if the holdup is because of Danny Ainge wanting so much. I don't know if the August 6th date for this contract extension is playing any part in it. Who knows? But the way this Warriors team is currently constructed, it leads to another big move coming if this is going to make some sense. I think teams like the Sacramento Kings could pummel them the way they're currently constructed right now. And let's lead to your Kings real fast. You cover this team. I thought they had an excellent offseason. I thought the DeMar DeRozan signing was huge. The fact that they still have Kevin Huerter is fascinating, but I don't think it's a bad thing to have him coming off the bench for you, unless you think he's going to be a starter. But I don't know if that's where he currently fits. But look, man, I think your Kings team looks damn good. Again, I thought the DeMar DeRozan move was excellent.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Kings? Do you like how far do you think they can go? Like, are they good enough to actually compete for a trophy, or do you think they're maybe a player short of that? Like how are you looking at your Kings, man?
Well, I think they could be really good. I think during the season they're going to be really good. They've been, the last 2 years, even though they didn't make it into the actual playoffs, they made the play-in, but they won 46 games. And the year before, I believe they won 48, I believe, or whatever, something like that. So them getting Malik Monk back, bringing in DeMar DeRozan, those were the two big moves that the Kings needed. And I think it's definitely as good as Harrison Barnes has been for Sacramento and the growth here in Sacramento. This DeRozan move is an upgrade, and
Big time, big
yeah,
time. Yeah,
anytime
good.
you upgrade, obviously the team is going to get better. Are they championship competitors, or can they come out the West? I still think there's something else that needs to happen. One of those things is going to be, to me, an internal thing. Like you mentioned, Kevin Huerter coming off the bench, and I'm not sure if he's going to come off the bench because that's just kind of how things have played out in his favor. I know they're really big on Kevin Huerter. I think he'll get a shot in the beginning of the season, especially preseason and everything, as the starter. But ultimately, you have Malik Monk, who could easily be the starter, but they love to bring him off the bench. You got a guy in Keon Ellis who came out of nowhere. He was in the G League the prior year, and he filled that role perfectly. And, how big or small do you want to go? Now you got DeRozan, which means Keegan Murray has to move up to the power forward position now, or does DeRozan say, I'm gonna, guard the big guy or whatever? So I think it's gonna be a lot of things that need to get answered, even with the roster as is. They got to figure it out quick because, as we know in the West, dropping 2 or 3 games because of adjustments could cost you making it into the playoffs. So they're going to have to figure it out on the fly. And like back to Kevin Huerter, I think he'll get the start originally, but it's definitely going to be like the last 2 years, other than him getting hurt, he's been locked at that shooting guard position. This year, it's definitely not going to be a lot.
And and there's some people out there who actually criticize the DeMar DeRozan move, or maybe they're not critical, but they don't think it's going to be as positive of an impact as others believe. Dude, the guy can legitimately play, man. Like, he is a damn good player. I have no concern about De'Aaron Fox's usage rate, and whether or not there's enough basketballs to go around for all these players. Bullshit, dude. Like, DeMar DeRozan was a massively huge pickup for you guys. I envy the Kings for doing that. And I do think the Kings are a team to look out for, man. I really do believe that. DeMar DeRozan is that good. And people forget, how long of a career he's had. All those Raptors teams where LeBron just kept spanking him postseason after postseason. But that was a damn good team that unfortunately played in the same conference as LeBron. Otherwise, they're going to the finals multiple years. All those years in San Antonio playing alongside LaMarcus Aldridge. Dude, he can play. You guys got a fantastic player, Mark.
If you sorry to cut you off, but
you're good.
You put a championship on DeMar DeRozan's resume, then everybody feels completely different just by adding that championship to his resume. Because like you said, over his entire career, even last year, he played for a bad Bulls team, but everywhere he's been successful, and he's been a key piece. And he's, still can average 24 points consistently. Like, it's not jacking up shots just to get there or whatever. So I think, when it comes to the chemistry, obviously some things have to change, but a lot of things that was frustrating with Harrison, especially towards the end, but even back when he was in Golden State, he's always been kind of a passive, offensive guy. And when you have other players on your team that could, that can dominate the rock, they could score and control the pace of the game, you have to be very aggressive to be successful. And that's what you're going to get with DeMar DeRozan. He played, like you said, at San Antonio. That's not a system built for one person to just go score. And he had to figure out how to get his in Pop's system. And I think it's going to be the same here. Mike Brown, was under Popovich at one time or whatever. So Mike Brown is a guy that knows how to adjust, and he knows how to, try to maximize his players. And I think if they figure that out, there's no telling how good this Kings could be as long as they stay healthy.
Yeah, here it's funny you brought up Harrison Barnes. I feel like him and Andrew Wiggins both went to the same shooting clinic as kids in terms of like the worst possible shot imaginable for misses, right? Like there's no other players in the game that I feel like if for certain it's a miss, you can hear it from a mile away. If there was a contest in terms of making the ball bounce as furthest as possible away from the rim after you miss it, those two would win that contest easily. It was a positive move, I think, for the Kings to swap out Barnes for DeMar DeRozan. Let me ask you this, man, in terms of your evaluation of Keegan Murray. And actually, before we get to that, I just want to highlight one chat because, because I thought it was actually really smart. And it's from the porn star John Holmes. Where did that post go? Damn you! Oh, here it is. Okay, John Holmes writes, and I can finally see my screen. There's a point in the day where like my view is just a nightmare right now because of sun reflections. I can see again. John Holmes in the chat writes, "What if the Warriors could get 2 number 1 picks for taking Zach LaVine's contract?" And side note, DeMar DeRozan, just to even put more praise on DeMar DeRozan, those Bulls teams, like he was carrying those Bulls teams. Him and Alex Caruso, those Bulls teams should not have even been 500 teams. Yeah. They should not have even been making play-in teams. Like DeMar DeRozan was surrounded by, it was Alex Caruso and just a hodgepodge of just crap that does not work. Dude, The Kings fans, if you're watching or listening to this right now, you're stoked. DeMar DeRozan can play. Going back to John Holmes, what if you could get 2 number 1 picks for taking Zach LaVine? Zach LaVine is a toxic player largely because of that contract that is 3 years remaining guaranteed at approximately $150 million plus. But what John Holmes is suggesting is the Warriors should actually use Zach LaVine to build for the future by getting extra picks back from the Bulls while simultaneously shipping off Wiggins, maybe Kevon Looney. My point is, I like your train of thinking, John Holmes. Going to Keegan Murray, who I know Kings fans value, and I'm curious to know how much you value him, Mark, and that's where this question is going to lie. And I know we're running late here. I didn't realize how long we're going, Mark. I'm going to wrap it up here in a second. Would you trade, if you were the Sacramento Kings GM, Mark, would you trade Keegan Murray for Jonathan Kuminga, straight up?
Ooh, Keegan Murray for Jonathan Kuminga, straight up. If I'm the Kings, I don't. If I'm the Kings, I don't, in the sense of bringing in Jonathan Kuminga means you're taking in exchange for Keegan, you're losing a shooter. So you're losing spacing. And that's something the Kings still struggle with at times is spacing. So I wouldn't make that move simply because of that. Keegan, he's a guy that, who knows how, he almost broke Steph's three-point
record. Yeah.
Game. 3-pointers made in the game. There you go.
I was worried about that last year, man. I know what game you're talking about exactly. Yeah,
He started off I think he went 11 for 11 or something crazy. So the guy can flat out shoot the ball. And I think if you bring in Kuminga, obviously you're getting the bet. I think Kuminga is the better player right now. And I think it makes sense. All right, if we're drafting, who we're drafting or whatever, I probably draft Kuminga. But with the way the Kings are built, I think Keegan Murray would be the better fit and the better player on this team.
Good answer. And in the chat, which is filled with mostly Warriors fans, they're saying I wouldn't do that trade either. It's just both players seem to be a better fit for their teams. How about this? And then we'll wrap it up. I have one more question after this one. So 2 more total, Mark, and then you can have your day and I'll let you go. I promise. Would you trade Brandon Pajemski for Keegan Murray?
So with that one, I wouldn't trade him. I would still stay with Keegan because the reason I haven't seen Pajemski up close, but Keegan is a big guy too. So
he is. He is. You're right.
To guard 1 through 4 or whatever. And I don't know if I get that with Paz, but still, like those are really good hypotheticals right there. It's a really good one. But
well, I'm trying to gauge like from your perspective how much you value just these players in general. Like
I think Keegan, I think Keegan can be really, really good in the NBA. I think they drafted him at number 4 because they believed it as well.
Mm-hmm.
The way his growth, the one thing I would have to say I want to see from Keegan or whatever is just being, which he started to do it last year. He got more aggressive, but I need him to be even more aggressive. I need him to, I also want to see him, with the spacing or whatever. I want to see him shooting it deeper because he can. He's like Keegan Murray is an elite shooter. And what Warrior fans know about Steph and Clay or whatever is that's something you cannot teach. And in their 3rd and 4th year, if there was a bunch of scenarios where we could ask, like, all right, would you trade Steph Curry for, I can't even think of who's in that class since it's been so long, but Steph played for this guy. And at that time, it might have felt like, yeah, I would do that because this guy is the better player. But when you figure out how to utilize the ability of their shooting ability that you cannot match in any fashion anywhere, you keep that. So I think Keegan Murray has the ability to be one of the NBA's special elite shooters. And I think he can be a similar, like when I see him as a similar player as Klay Thompson or whatever, because he's a guy that he enjoys defending the best player. He wants to defend the best player. Meanwhile, he's that sniper shooter, but I think right now he's still, he's definitely still growing into his body. He put on like 10, 15 pounds last year, and I'm curious to see how he comes in to this season. But right now when he's guarding the best player on the team, he's doing a good job, but it's impacted him offensively. And once that changes, once his shot is still, automatic while guarding the best player on the other team, I think that's when it's going to be like, all right, this dude's really untouchable.
Absolutely, man. You brought up Kuminga's offseason regimen, which for the last 2 off seasons have been exceptional. The year before that was right after a title, so you can't blame him for just partying that whole summer. And but the reason why I bring that up is when you look at Keegan Murray, I feel like he still has some of that baby fat going. So if he's putting in the work this offseason, like if that dude comes out looking like Adonis, look out, man. Like that, he's deceptively big. Similar to Clay, right? Klay Thompson was a lot bigger than people gave him credit for. He had a 6'7" frame that was strong. Keegan Murray is a big dude, man. He can play the 4, like you said. He can stretch it. Yeah, dude, the Kings have a lot going for them, man. And this leads to my final question for you, Mark, since this is a Warriors program. But again, you covered the Warriors for a long time, and you've got the basketball genealogy in you and your brother Chris. You know hoops. By the way, real fast, man. Do you and Chris hang out a lot, man? For people that don't know, Chris Haynes, your brother, is a prominent NBA journalist, media personality. He breaks stories on the reg. Like, do you two talk shop a lot, or when you hang out, is that like exhausting and you just want to talk about family? Like, what do you two do when you hang out together, man? What do you talk about?
We don't really, we don't talk a lot of basketball. Like, obviously we do or whatever here and there or whatever, but a lot of times we just, BSing around, or if we are talking about, athletes, we might be talking about each other, who's the better athlete. And, we still, get out and compete here and there or whatever. But we talk every day. We both live, well, he's in the Elk Grove area and I'm in Sacramento. So we live close to each other. We don't, it's funny, we don't actually hang out much, but like I said, we talk every day. And then when we do get together or whatever, it's definitely gonna be a party. And We're not talking about basketball.
Oh, that's a party I beg you to invite me to, please. I imagine that's a good time, man. And before we let you go, I got to ask you, if the Lauri Markkanen trade does not happen, there's a lot of plan Bs that in terms of names that have been thrown out there. Cam Johnson is a favorite. I don't think Brandon Ingram's going to happen just because he played for Steve Kerr last summer, and you saw how that worked out. He just completely got phased out of the rotation by the end of that tournament. There's Vucevic of Chicago. I don't know why we don't hear his name mentioned in trade talks more often. I think he would be an excellent addition for the Warriors. Jared Allen is out there. Time Lord Robert Williams III with Portland is out there. Kyle Kuzma is out there. Who sticks out to you, if anyone, if the Warriors cannot get Lauri Markkanen? I mean, Stephen Curry, you got to do him justice, man. You got to at least give him a semblance of a shot and surround him with talent. I don't know if this team's good enough. I know you're liking how they look right now, but it's you got to help Steph. You got to do what you can to you got to give your best in terms of forming a roster around him. Who sticks out to you as a plan B, if anyone? Or maybe you believe that they shouldn't do a damn thing and they're good the way they are. What are your thoughts on that?
But no, in the sense of like taking care of Steph or whatever, like you got to go all out. You got to go try to get as much as you can. At the end of the day, you want Steph to feel like we did everything we can. You gave us, an amazing, almost 2 decades of your life. We owe you to this. We owe you for this. But it was funny until you brought back the memory of how Brandon Ingram fell out of the rotation with Team USA under Kerr. I was going to say, Brandon, I would love to see Brandon Ingram with the Warriors, but yeah, obviously he fell out of the rotation, and maybe it was a fit thing. Jason Tatum got a DNP, so maybe it was more of a just where, like I think Kerr said in one of his interviews recently, it's just about winning, and if that's the case, I feel like Brandon Ingram would be a good fit for the Warriors, especially now he's shooting the ball better as well too, or whatever. So he could stretch the floor, he could handle the rock, he could play make. So I think he's a good all around. He could be a good all around addition to the roster. But the safe person would be to go after like Vucevic. Like, what you're getting out of him. If you do have to come up off of a Kevon Looney or whatever, you're getting a dominant rebounder. You're getting a big man who could put the ball in the bucket. It's not like they would just, feed him in the post, but he can, off of offensive rebounds, he could shoot the open jump shot. He would make, I feel like he would be a very safe fit. And what he lacks on defense, I think the Warriors have the pieces to kind of cover up and utilize his size. And I think he could be a really, really good pickup if it's possible to get him.
Yeah, and I personally do hope the Warriors make a move, man. I right now your Kings are better. I really do believe that, and I don't like saying that. I don't want to say that, but I try to be realistic and honest. And your Kings are good, dude. And the Warriors, they might be good, but I hope they make one more move. I really do. Folks, hit this. Oh, so go ahead.
Earlier, and I just curious because you said I was gonna stop you earlier, but before we go, I heard you say
anytime. Yeah,
I heard you say that the Kings and the Warriors are rivals. Do the Bay Area feel like the Kings and Warriors are now a rivalry?
Well, my belief, this is totally subjective, obviously, right? But my belief is it's a rivalry if the other team is also winning, right? You beat the Warriors last year. And the truth is, man, the Warriors, I think it's disingenuous to Kings fans right now to put these two in the same category, man. The Warriors have a lot to prove. I cannot sit here and speak arrogantly about them, dude. They've got a lot of issues and problems. I think your Kings team is much better. So right now, I feel like calling it a rivalry is almost insulting to Kings fans, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, your team's better. Right now your team is better, but you knocked the Warriors out of the play-in last year. These games are contentious. The fan bases clearly have there's an animus between these two fan bases. So yeah, I think so, man. Do you think so? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Like I agree with you, like especially based off of like both teams being Northern California teams, and they're both, even though the Kings got the best out of them last year, they're both good teams. They're both relevant teams, and whenever you have that in the close proximity, of course, like whenever the Warriors are in town, playing the Kings, you see all the Warrior jerseys in the stands, and it's a lot of, I think more so, for the fans, it is probably more than the players, because, I do think that De'Aaron and them, as much as they want to beat Steph, they look at him as, that's Steph. He's still Steph. But for the fans, man, I love, whenever they play, and just, the fans, you don't want it to go to fights, but it ends up fights in the stands or whatever. You don't see that when the Lakers come to town, or the Celtics. It's a different energy whenever the Warriors are in Sacramento. So I think it's a rivalry too.
I do. I think so. It's healthy right now, man. I love rivalries, dude. I grew up loving baseball. The sport just got too boring for me, man. No offense to the baseball folks out there, but it just became too much to keep up. But growing up, I bring it up because the Giants and Dodgers, man, like that was a real rivalry. Like I go to Giants Dodgers games at the Stick. That's where true fans, you knew those were real fans, man, because those games were cold and that stadium was beat up. But I saw a lot of brawls, dude, and I love it, man. As a kid, I'm just getting a kick out of this stuff. So I think so, dude. I think there is a rivalry there. And I hope the Warriors keep up, because right now your Kings are looking damn good, and I want to see some comeuppance on the Warriors side of things. By the way, one thing, there's a memory that sticks in my mind so much when it comes to the Kings, and it's that fan. I think it was 2 years ago. He was sitting courtside. Do you remember? I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. He just started puking, and he just never stopped. Do you remember that guy? Like, I think it was during the Luke Walton era, and Luke Walton's like just looking at this, like, what the hell is going on, man? Like, did that guy ever apologize, or did that guy ever like get interviewed and explain, like, was he just like that hammered drunk? Did he eat something bad? Like, what was that? Do you remember that?
I remember it vividly. I remember the puke on the floor, and
it just kept coming. It just never stopped.
I want to say I was at that game too. I want to say I remember it, but I have to look up to see if anybody ever talked to him. If not, I'll find that guy.
Your next piece for the Sac Observer. There you go. Promote a wave, dude. What do you got going on, Mark? I've kept you on for so long, man. I apologize. Again, you got 3 in the Paint, which is a fantastic podcast. One constructive critique, if you don't mind me dishing it out. You are the star of that show. So as long as you stay the focus and your 2 co-hosts orbit around you, because again, you're the star, that's the formula, man. Like, you just remember, you're the one who's delivering for that program. But it's a fantastic show, dude. You've got your reporter with the Sacramento Observer. Promote away, brother. And again, on the graphic, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to your program. Again, it's called 3 in the Paint. In addition to Golden Days, hit the like button, please. It helps with the algorithm. Obviously, spit on that thing, Hawk Tua style. Well, anything else you want to promote, brother? Floor is yours.
Yeah, no. First side, man. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate you, and hopefully we can do this a lot more this season.
Let's please.
Crazy, but yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, like Cyrus said, you can follow me at Mark Haynes NBA on all platforms. 3 in the Paint podcast, and look for my work on the Sacramento Observer, and looking forward to this season. I hope you guys are just like I am, and Cyrus, I look forward to seeing you soon, bro.
Yeah, you too, dude. I'm down to do this anytime. I'm always thinking like Warriors Kings games, man. That alone, like, we should be doing shows together, and we could even dual stream it, man. I'm always down to do that. If you want to get your colleagues involved with 3 in the Paint and do a fun roundtable type show, let me know. Have a great rest of the weekend. Try and stay cool in Sacramento. I know we got another heat wave in town. Those are never fun, but you got kids, right? So at least the pool is just that. When it's hot, isn't that the best babysitter? Like, you just throw them in the pool and you just got to sit. Are they old enough for that?
Yeah. They love the pool, and that's basically get them, tire them out, and put them to sleep, and then.
And then you could chill. You could just breathe for a few minutes. I love it, Mark. We'll do this again soon. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And until the next program, bye-bye.